Hey, it's Coach 2K with Coach2K.com, and I'm back with another video here. And I've talked about how to set up your game, and I thought what I'd start doing is kind of walking through the steps I would take to kind of start learning how to play. Now, I did another video a while back about how to pick a team, so really that's the first step. Once you get your gameplay settings set up the way that you want, is just to pick a team. Now, after you pick a team, then you got to need to get in there and see who you have on your team. Now, in the how to pick a team video that I did a while back, I talked about why I chose the Pacers because I'm from there, and I think it'd be great if a lot more people use the teams from where they're from instead of just focusing on the big market teams and the ones that are elite for that particular year. And so anyway, getting back to today's video, just talking about where to begin once you've picked a team, and that is to start by picking on offense. So you can see here I have the roster set up for the Pacers, so you can see all the players on the team, and you know there's so much that you can learn in the game that it's very difficult to learn everything at one time. And so what I suggest is that you start by working on offense first and then working on defense second. And specifically on offense, just start working on learning these standing ratings for your team. So here you can see Paul George has a standing close of 97, standing medium of 86, and standing three-point of 85. Now, in general, when it comes to these ratings, I shoot with whoever's open, even if they're not really a great shooter. I'm not going to shoot with, one of my bigs out the three-point line typically, but anybody else on the perimeter, if they're open, I'm going to shoot it, unless I've shot with them enough to learn that they're not going to come through for me, and it's a critical situation. So, but anyway, you want to start with these three ratings and then take them into practice mode and start with your guys that are perimeter players. So the guys that are shooters like Paul George and C.J. Miles, Ellis, Stuckey, Hill, Budinger, Hill, Young, and Robinson. Those guys are my perimeter guys. Those are the guys that I'm gonna focus on first, and primarily my superstar, Paul George. So once I know, for example, that he is an 85 standing three-point shooter, then I know that he's a very good shooter from three. Whereas Jordan Hill's 55, Stuckey, he's really fallen. He's 68, 50. The odds aren't in my favor as much shooting with those guys from three as they would be from Paul George. So when I'm on the court, I want to keep that in mind, that if I'm open from three with Stuckey, that I might be like, well, maybe I can get a better shot. And so anyway, in general, over 80 is good, 90 is awesome. 75 is average. Anything under 70, like Stuckey here, I might want to think twice again about shooting any threes with him. So once you've identified, let's just take Paul George for example. I know he's a good shooter. So here I am. I'm in practice mode. I want to take these guys in. And the first skill that I just want to kind of work on is jump shooting. Now before I begin in practice mode, I always want to make sure that I have my settings set up the way that I want. And I always want to practice on the Hall of Fame sim. And I always want to practice on the hardest level, even if I might play on All-Star at the moment. And I also want to use the right camera angle. I always use 2K cam. And and I always make sure these are set the way that I want them to. So once in here, you're going to take all your players in here and just kind of get to know their release. Now, I don't use the shot meter anymore to tell me whether I got a perfect release or not. And I did a video on the shot meter, how to shoot without it, and how to pay attention to the results of the shot to determine what you need to do as far as release is concerned. But what I do is I just come in here and I work on shots that I would take in 2K, and then I would do this with each player. So more than anything, it's just a matter of getting a feel for each player. Alright, so the gist of this video is just to let you know to start on offense first and just start working on shot releases. Make that your first focus because you're going to need to know how to do that. Now, what about defense? Well, you want to worry about defense too, but your defense is really driven in the game by your offense. So if you can come down on the offensive end and you can score, then that's the primary concern first and foremost, because if you're not scoring on the other end, it's a lot more difficult to play defense. Okay, so, and then what you do, you just go in here with all these guys and you just go in and work with all their shots. Now, like CJ's shot is different than Paul George's shot. So it's one of the things I like about user timing, because everybody's a little bit different. So it takes a little bit of work kind of getting to know how they shoot. All right, so get in your roster, take a look at your ratings, and get an idea of who's good at what in these three categories: standing close, standing medium, and standing three. Now, they have the moving shots too, but I'm more interested in getting set shots than I am moving shots. So that's one of the reasons I focus on these particular ratings first and get to know them, so that when you see them in the game, from like here's CJ Miles. If I see him in the game spotted up over here from three, this is a shot that I'm going to want to take. But having looked at my ratings here, looking at Stuckey, for example, at a 68, then if I'm in a situation where I wind up with him here in the game, I'm going to want to think twice about shooting with him and getting a better shot. Okay? So begin analyzing your roster. Start with the shooting ratings for the standing jump shots and begin working on those releases. And then in the next video, we'll talk more about what to do next. I'm Coach 2K, and if we get a chance to play, I will see you on the court.